Hey, welcome to Gabriela with 1L. I am your host, Gab, and thank you for listening in another episode. This time, the episode is going to be about resilience, and specifically when I moved to the UK, because for those who doesn't know, I am from Mexico and I'm living in the UK. So now I said that, let me tell you what resilience is, if you don't know. So it is a capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. I mean, there's loads of definitions, but this is one that I found that I liked. And it's short, it's concise, and well, in my case, to start with, first, I left my whole world behind, where I grew up, and my environment, and what I knew my whole life, you know, like what you're used to see every day. Which I think a few people will probably relate to that, because I know there's going to be a few friends listening to this. Hello, everyone from other countries that went to live to another country that is not your country. Right, so let's begin. My story started in 2015 when I got married. I mean, it started before that, the whole thing about coming into the UK and going back to Mexico and coming back to the UK, and I started a relationship like that, like long distance relationship. That's how people call it, and it wasn't easy at all. I mean, everyone who could relate to that will understand what I mean. So I'm gonna tell you that story in another episode. So stay tuned. So in 2015 I got married, and I left after the wedding. So I came here to UK right after the wedding, because I was able to stay for the 6 months period of time, because that's the amount of time you're allowed to stay without any visa or any legal process. And everything started there, because I only had the chance to stay for 6 months, and I knew that after that I was going to have to go back to my country, because the legal process, the visa process, costs money, a lot of money. And when you're that young, how I was and Ryan was, you don't have that kind of money. I don't think anyways. I don't think anyone could have that type of money that the visa people asks for, that requirement, which I totally understand. I mean, don't get me wrong. You need to be aware of those things when you want to go to another country and try to start a life, but it is not very realistic when they are actually asking for big amounts of money. They ask you for a certain income and certain amount to be able to stay in the UK. And I'm gonna say something that really gets me about people assuming if you get married with someone from the UK or Europe or USA, people for some reason will think that you're allowed to be in the country without any trouble just because of the sake of being married with someone from that country. I'm really sorry to break or pop that bubble that people lives in, but no, nothing like that. It's absolutely a nightmare. And yeah, you need to be aware that what you're saying is just not like how you see it. I don't blame that people, but sometimes we need to be aware of what we're saying, because there's so many subjects we don't know anything about. I didn't even know about what was going on, because I mean, you don't know about these things until you need to go through it. Which, by the way, that leads me that other people think, oh yeah, you're just getting married with someone from somewhere else that is not your country just to get out of here and stuff like that, which that's rude and that's mean as well, because it's not the intention of people. Like, genuinely, there's people who can be in love. And the reason I say this is because I had members of my family telling me like, oh yeah, long distance relationships won't work, he's probably cheating on you and just crap like that, which it's not fair on people who are genuinely in love. And I didn't like listening to all that type of crap. I even had a cousin who told me, oh yeah, you get married with the European guy, because yeah, Brexit didn't exist back then. And she even mentioned that. I was like, how rude. So people genuinely thinks that you will be keen on being in love with someone to leave your country and every single thing in your life, I'll tell you what, it's worth taking the risk. It's worth taking the risk, believing in yourself and your feelings and what you are feeling at that time, because there is a lot of people who will be criticizing you about your situation. But I think it's just people being jealous and people being just like, you know, when someone criticizes another person or another situation, I reckon that is because that type of people is not brave enough to go and reach what they want. So they feel entitled or with the power of saying something about your life. So don't let that type of conversations that mean or toxic people can have, because it's not worth it at all. Go and reach your goals, people. Honestly, it's worth it. Anyways, when I had to apply for the visa and to go through the whole legal process to be able to stay in the UK, me and my husband had to go away from each other for a year and 3 months. That's right. I know that's a long time. I got to the point that I thought I wasn't going to be able to reach that goal of getting into the UK in a legal way. And I started to feel frustrated. I felt unwelcome, obviously, because how rules are, and you don't really hear anything about these type of stories because it's not something people knows about, because it's not that common until you go through that and you are actually in the middle of that situation. So you go through all that, and on top of it, as I mentioned previously, you have to deal with all these type of comments from people that feels free to have an opinion about what you're going through. And honestly, I heard all type of conversations from people just randomly telling me stuff about long distance relationships that fail, people who were not able to get the visas, and just stuff that was very negative. I even remember someone who I knew from school. Yeah, I know it's very lame, but it did happen. I remember I went to a party and we went for food after with my friends, and I saw these people who went with me to school, and it was just like, I say hi just as a polite person and they say hi back, and one of them reached me and said, "Hey, I thought that you had a like an English boyfriend or something. Where is he? Does he even exist?" And I was just like, that's not even worth answering. Like, how people could understand anything what I was going through if they were asking those questions, like, doesn't even worth my time at all. I even have issues with my family, like aunts, cousins and stuff like that. I don't know, someone I think started a rumor. I still don't know what happened to this date. But it's just everything in general. I thought it was just people being rude and crappy about it. It's just jealousy as well, let's say how it is. And that's the lamest thing, humans. Because as a feeling, it's honestly not worth it. You're trying to put down other people with passive-aggressive comments just because how miserable you feel. Because either you don't take risks or you can make decisions and take real action to have actually the life you want. That's something that people will always try to put you down for. And it's just not fair. And that's just showing you how frustrated some people can be and how they want to take advantage of other people saying crap and letting their crap out at you. And you are the responsible person to say, it can get me or it won't get me. Just take your crap out of me and just move forward if you can with your own life. Please don't bother me. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, those type of comments obviously got me in some point, but I started to develop these type of resilience since then. It wasn't that great, I'm gonna be honest with you. It started to develop more and more during years and obviously awful situations as well. So it is the fact of having to overcome over and over and over again to these type of little situations that are very uncomfortable, and even to adapt yourself to this type of adversity and tragedy as well, because it is tragic. For some people can be tragic. I mean, back then I was very depressed, I think, even though I didn't really show it, but to myself, what I was feeling back then was just awful. I don't wish anyone to go through that. And if you're going through that, please get help, because it is possible to take action, but it depends on you, no one else. If you want to get better, it does depend on you. So get help, people, if you need it. So after that commercial, I am going to tell you the story about how I got to the appointment for my visa, to just drop the paperwork really in an office and just go through there. So I had the appointment in Mexico City because my hometown is actually 3 hours away from there. So my dad drove me there with my mum. And I remember I took all the paperwork in the boot of the car. So we were just arriving there from the long trip of 3 hours. And, well, I say long, it's not really. Anyway, so my dad thought that it was going to be a good idea to just park the car outside the offices where the appointment was going to be, and get inside the offices to just look around and see where the appointment was going to be, like the actual building and the actual place. So we did that, and I was happy to know where I was going to be going when I had the appointment. And I was there an hour early, so that was perfect. And I didn't see this coming, right? So we went outside the building to get the paperwork, and I looked around and I thought, where's the car? Where is the car? Where my dad parked the car, it wasn't there. The car wasn't there, and my whole paperwork was in the boot of that car. And I felt my stomach, my heart going out of my chest, like all together. I wanted to throw up so bad. I got dizzy as fuck, and I thought I was gonna die. Honestly, I'm not even joking. I looked at my mom saying like, what's gonna happen? Like, what now? So my mom started to calm me down, even though I was only able to think, this is not okay. This is not going to be okay. I'm not going to be able to go back to England ever again, because I thought the car was stolen, like absolutely gone forever. And then I started to look around, and my dad also started looking around people to see if someone saw anything about who took the car. So it was because the parking ticket wasn't put in one of the windows of the car, which it's like a rule there. But because we were not from there, we didn't know that. So my dad didn't put that ticket there. Even though the time wasn't like gone off or anything, it was just purely because there is so many people chasing any type of mistake, so they are able to claim money out of you. So that's what it happened. So someone said to my dad, oh yeah, the car has been taken away because of the parking thing not being paid. And I was like, oh crap. So we took a taxi as soon as we could, like literally in a minute. And we start following this thing that had the car on top of that. It's like a truck. I can't remember the name in English anyway. So we could see the car going on that thing on top. And we actually got the time to get there where the cars in that situation were putting in. And I don't know if that made sense. Anyways, I hope you understand. So we went to the place, which is like, I don't know, I think there's police involved. Don't get me wrong, I don't really know about these things. But anyways, we got to that place, and it was just about money, really. It was just about paying like a fee and something else. And yeah, it is quite dodgy, I'm not gonna lie. And so I just wanted to get the things out of the boot because my appointment was gonna be in half an hour. And I was shitting myself. I'm not kidding. I was literally shitting myself. And my mom started saying, like, just calm down and everything is going to be okay. Just breathe. And bless her, honestly, she was so good to me. And my dad was doing the best he could because I was in shock still. I couldn't speak properly or anything. And finally, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I went through the paperwork with the person at the visa place. Everything was okay. All I had to do was pay. And they would have told me after 3 weeks, I think it was, because we pay even more to get that even quicker. And I went home thinking, like, that was a hell of a situation that I went through. Honestly, it was awful. I thought I wasn't going to be able to make it, but luckily I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and I've got my visa at the end. And that was when I started everything. Like, I packed, I start feeling so happy, but at the same I start feeling so sad because I was leaving everything behind me. Like, I was gonna leave my whole life, my family, everything I knew for like my whole time living there, which it is exciting, but at the same time you don't know what to expect about leaving, because you have an expectation of, okay, well, now I'm gonna throw myself at like nothing, because I didn't have anything. I didn't have a job, I didn't have friends, I didn't know anything, I didn't know anyone, and it was just very difficult to have expectations and like something in your head that could go well, because you just throw yourself at nothing, literally, just believing that everything was gonna be okay and that hopefully I could have get a job and get friends and, I don't know, just have a normal life. So I went from having all the freedom of going anywhere I wanted, whenever I needed. I came from that to have this massive insecurity about getting lost in England. So I am not too good. Actually, I'm not good at all about knowing where I am. So I get lost really easy. And that is a problem when you go to another city and another country. And it was awful at that time, because I remember I felt like a massive baby. Because every time I wanted to go somewhere, I ended up calling Ryan crying because I was lost, or I didn't know where I was, and I wanted to try to find my way around, and I wasn't able. So after going through that a couple times, I decided to not go outside as much, just to avoid that, and that obviously broke me down really quick, really bad. And it was just because I didn't know people. And I mean, I didn't really have friends or anyone to hang out with. I knew, obviously, Ryan's family and friends, but they also had a life and I didn't. So there was a massive thing going on there for me anyways. And also the cultural shock that I went through, because you, as a Mexican, you have expectations sometimes from people because you're used to people being like a certain way. I know it's not good to talk it like that general, but it is like that. And as a new person in a new country, you also expect different things from people, and whom obviously they have other type of way to be and way to see life and things. I didn't have a job. People just treated me like, oh, your funny accent, and you have a really funny mix between American and something else, and people used to interact with me like that, and I didn't really like it. I was just like, yeah. Once again, I'm being seen like a foreigner, or like a baby that doesn't know anything about here. And it was difficult back then, because I went from living with my parents, being very comfortable, to living in a flat that it was the size of the bedroom from my parents' house where I used to be. So it was a massive change for me. And don't get me wrong, I've never been very interested in materialistic mindset or anything like that. But it was obviously very different from me because I had the chance to use different cars because of my parents, and it wasn't a problem for me. And when I came here, I didn't have a car, and it rains every day, almost every day. And I didn't like being cold because my feet gets really cold really quick. And the fact of being wet all the time out of the flat, just looking where to go because in case I needed something or I wanted to go anywhere, it was awful. I'm gonna say it was awful. But luckily I had Ryan's support. And I know for him it was a nightmare back then as well, because we were trying to adapt and to this whole new life, and it was quite complicated. It was really nice because we always got along really well, but obviously we had different mindsets back then as well, and we were just trying to find our way around between something new, that it was me just staying in the country for good and staying for a longer time. And I can't imagine how it was for him as well. We will have to see another episode to hear what he has to say about it, because I also had really funny comments from English people about, oh, you don't have sun anymore, how's that? And just, oh yeah, you can handle heat so good, when it was a little bit like slightly hot weather. And all that type of comments, or the typical stuff like, oh, where's your sombrero? Oh, I like burritos. Oh yeah, well, good for you. We don't really have those. That's Tex-Mex, but good for you. Anyways, I had all that type of comments, like stereotypical comments that we don't appreciate. I don't think anyone appreciates that. But if that makes you feel better, we do think that English people is like Mr. Bean. No, I'm just joking. So in the meantime, I try to get myself into getting more activities, and like apart from cleaning my place, because I am that type of person who cleans to feel good, and I don't know, I just got that from my mom, I guess. But it was very difficult for me to get a real job, and it was nice to begin with that I was introduced to like little volunteering jobs, I don't know, like graphic design things and freelancing still from here, and it was alright for a couple weeks and stuff like that. But then I started to get so frustrated and bitter about how my life was going, and I had nothing to relate to what I used to have, because my life in Mexico was easy. It was easier than I thought it was. And I had my parents, my siblings, my niece, my sister-in-law, my nephew. And I underestimated my family, and that's really sad, because you don't know what you have until you lose it. I know I didn't lose my family, but it feels like that in some way. And it does feel like that, because sometimes I just remember how my family is and how we keep company sometimes. And don't get me wrong, I love to be on my own sometimes. It's amazing. I can be on my own for a long time. But sometimes I remember how it is to have a family, and it breaks my heart, I'm not going to lie. And because as well as I left all my comfort to be with Ryan and to be here with the person I love. And I got so mixed up and confused because I lost myself in every way. People who had been in that situation will know what I'm talking about, and it doesn't feel nice, and you won't feel like yourself all the time as well, because you lose you kind of lose your identity in a period of time when you're trying to figure out what to do and how to do things around here. And it's such a big deal to leave your life, pack everything in one suitcase, and also put your mind into a different set up, and just because it has to absorb new culture, social norms, language, food, weather. And yeah, it's hard. And for those people who knows what I'm talking about, we do know living abroad is great until it isn't. because there is a feeling that will often comes up, and you will feel like this forever. And it breaks my heart to say this, but we will always feel like outsiders, no matter what. Eventually, that you have friends, people you work with, it's just like that, and it doesn't get any better sometimes, but it can get a little bit better by just being positive and trying to change your mindset a little bit. And the people who we went through this, we are wired differently emotionally. There's something different about us. It's just weird, and I know how it feels. And if there's someone who is recently going through that, let me tell you something, it gets better, and it does depend on you. And it's not only for people who is from other countries living in the UK, it's for everyone. If you don't like how your life is, change it. As easy as that. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it is. But if you're willing to try and get you to the point that you're happy with what you are, with what you have, that's a challenge. I mean, and that's the main thing about life. Reach your goals. And this is not me trying to coach anyone. It's just from my experience. I don't have it all, and I still have a lot of goals to reach. But one thing that I'm sure about is that people should be more aware of what they can do when they want to do things, because life is amazing. And it is amazing. And as soon as I started to see or recognize this pattern from like when I started to put myself down over and over again, it was because I was listening to these type of comments. And it was not only comments about just being negative, it was against my own culture, and it was stuff that it was coming from a very ignorant place, which I cannot really blame those people, because they watch a lot of TV and they believe everything TV says, and they are just very into stereotyping cultures and countries and stuff like that, because that's the only window they have where to look at those things. Because surprise, surprise, Mexico is not only burritos, tacos, sombreros, mustaches, and arriba. No, that's not us. We have a lot of rich culture, and it's just amazing. And I wish people could see it more than what they made fun of, because people loves to have parties with all sort of like stereotypical things like ponchos and stuff like that. That's not us. But let me tell you something. English people is seen as Mr. Bean in Mexico. You are all like Mr. Bean. How about that? I'm just joking. But I do hope and wish that people could not only travel and pay for all-inclusive holidays. If you have the money to travel and you have the way to learn about other countries without stereotyping, that's great. I mean, I wish all people had that initiative about learning something, not only going to get drunk in Ibiza, which, by the way, that's how Spanish people pronounce it. But me as Mexican, I pronounce it Ibiza. Anyways, I am Mexican with a beautiful heart, and I am an amazing host as well. And I will treat you kindly as a friend, and I'll give everything I can as a friend as well. And I speak like your language. I speak English. I try my best. I go out of my comfort zone to be able to have a better life as well, and to reach my goals as much as I can. And I also have a brain, because a lot of people think like foreigners or foreign people doesn't really think, which that's a lie. We take a lot of effort to come to another country and start our lives from zero. And to all people who has been going through expect depression or any sort of like things that puts you down, let me give you some hope, because I'm not here to coach or anything, but I do want to give you hope. And embrace all the challenges ahead with your knowledge and the experience that you have, and the experience that it's coming. because that is so significant for your self-growth that you will be thanking yourself after. And I do tell you this from the bottom of my heart and the experience that I went through. And I also say this because stressors, including how I have been treated at work, family members, people who call my friend as well, they had not been strong enough or negative enough to limit myself to grow, but rather were strong to push me out of my comfort zone and build resilience and grit. So I invite you to believe in yourself and push yourself every time you feel like you cannot give more, because that's where you can cross that line and absolutely reach even more than you can imagine, because that's when the magic happens. And I'm not here to coach or anything, because I'm not against those things, but I'm not 100% sure that they work. But anyways, I have 7 skills, and the first one is cultivate a belief in your ability to cope. The second, stay connected with sources of support. The third one, talk about what you're going through. The fourth one, be helpful to others. Fifth one, activate positive emotion. Sixth one, cultivate an attitude of survivorship. And the seventh one, seek meaning. Everything has a reason. Everything has a purpose. And you can support yourself with a really good positive emotion. And I do know that it's not easy at all, but you can. I tell you this because I went through that, and I have ups and downs as well. I'm a human being, but there's a lot of things that you can reach to help yourself, as self-awareness, mindfulness, self-care, positive relationship, and just purpose in life. That's what we are here for. But anyways, I hope you enjoy. This wasn't easy to talk about, but I hope you actually get something out of here. And if you're from England and you see people from somewhere else, please don't be judgmental. That's very ignorant. I'm going to say straight. It is very ignorant to judge people from other countries. Please don't do it. You never know what that person is going through. You never know how that person's life was before coming here. So don't feel better than anyone, because we're all here in the same planet. And please just stop that type of violence, because it is violence at the end. Right, so thank you so much for listening to me today, and I hope you can get the best out of this talk. If you can get something good out of here, that will be great. And I will be talking about something else next episode. That's gonna be a surprise. So thank you so much for listening. Take care. Peace out.